Hello, and welcome to the Love Your Work Life podcast. I'm your host, Elissa Shuck. Whether you're going for that next promotion, looking for a job, or making a career pivot, I'll teach you how to navigate it all so you can have the career you want. This is Love Your Work Life, episode 78. There's a problem that I see frequently, or that I talk about frequently when we're doing career coaching stuff and job search stuff, and that is the problem of feeling stuck. Like nothing looks good. You can't find any jobs that you feel like applying for, or you're applying, but nothing is happening. Nothing's moving. Maybe that applies to your career. You've just been doing the same thing for a long time. You want something different, but you're stuck doing what you're doing with no movement. I think we've all been there. I know I've been there at times. So how did I get out of it? How can you get out of it? Identifying new opportunities and taking action, right? The problem is you feel stuck. The solution is taking action. But I know that sounds a lot easier than it actually is, because you likely have some things working against you, thoughts that you're having, behavior patterns in play that are keeping you stuck. Because let's face it, sheer willpower and discipline doesn't always work. It doesn't. And, depends on where you are. There are other factors involved, right? Maybe you just got rejected. So feeling stuck is, kind of a nice escape, because you don't have to apply anymore, because you don't want to face that rejection again. So feeling stuck is a little comforting. Let that sink in. Our brains are so clever, so clever. I was talking with my life coach recently about creating some new habits, a habit of relaxing. And when you start to get a little more curious about, do I relax? Do I not relax? When? What? Then it's like peeling an onion. You'll start uncovering things, patterns that are repeating themselves in your life, that breaking out of them feels uncomfortable. It actually feels more comfortable to be busy all the time than it does to relax. That's me I'm talking about. And I know it sounded strange to me to verbalize it. But you've got some of those things going on for you too. This problem of feeling stuck. Part of the problem is that our brains are always looking for evidence to prove what we're thinking is true. So if your primary thought is, I'm stuck, I'll never go anywhere, there's no jobs out there for me, I will never get that promotion, then guess what? That's exactly the evidence your brain will be looking for. Evidence that you're stuck, evidence that there isn't any room for growth in that company, evidence that there's always something to do and there isn't time to relax. But I want you to start to be intentional about finding different evidence, seeking out evidence that what you want to be doing instead of being stuck could actually be true. And the process for doing this comes down to exploring your thought patterns and beliefs. And by beliefs, I'm not talking about anything spiritual here, because a belief is just a thought you keep on thinking. It's a pattern that repeats itself. We have some well-worn neurological pathways in our brain that when we get triggered by one thing, we automatically go down a certain path. I bet you if you start looking at your life and looking at your thoughts, feelings, and actions or responses to the stimuli and circumstances around you, there's certain things that are just going to be repeatable. It happens every time. What I want you to do is interrupt that unintentional thought and get really curious. Question your thoughts. And when you question them, find a new thought that serves you better and practice it. Creating a new belief about what's possible for you really just kind of comes down to practicing new thoughts. I want you to explore by asking yourself some questions. I want you to create deeper levels of self-awareness by asking yourself some questions. Here's some to try. Is this actually true? When you have the thought, I'm not going anywhere in my career, and that's not a thought that's serving you, trust me, then slow your roll down a little bit and ask the question, is this actually true? If it's not, great. Now look for the evidence that it's not true. Well, you've gotten promotions in the past. You've pivoted in the past. You've learned new things in the past. You've stepped out in boldness at some point. I'm certain of it. So when you ask yourself the question, is this actually true? You're opening up some space to believe new things. You're opening up some space to look for different evidence, to find different evidence. Here's another one. Maybe your thought is a self-imposed limitation. I'm terrible at learning tech. I'm not a good interviewer. Are you imposing that limitation on yourself? Maybe no one else has told you that, but something about it, you've said, I can't, and therefore your brain is going to keep showing you ways you can't. Are you self-eliminating? And by that I mean, are you looking at a job description and finding all the things that are wrong with it and not applying, instead of looking for the evidence of what you can do and going for it? Here's another great question. What if the opposite was true? So when you have a thought like, I'm not good at that, ask yourself the question, what if the opposite was true? What if I actually am really good at that? What if I am good at interviewing? What if I do know how to be bold and reach out to someone? Instead of the thought, I would never do that in a million years, what if the opposite was true? I could do that every day. See how fascinating it is to ask yourself these questions, to inquire inside your own brain, look for the evidence that what you're thinking may not be true, and therefore creating a new thought and looking for evidence that it may be true. So empowering. And while you're doing this, of course, you're going to have some compassion on yourself, because your brain is just naturally going to serve this up. It wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you secure. It wants to protect you from danger. Our brains are designed to do that. So the fact that you're having this thought or these thoughts, it doesn't mean anything's wrong. You just need to understand it for what it is. Yeah, of course your brain's going to serve that up. But I also want you to see it as a lie. The thought that you're not worthy or the thought that you can't figure something out is not true. You are 100% worthy this minute right now. Secondly, you've always been able to figure things out. You do hard things every single day. So telling yourself this job search is too hard is not true. it's not too hard for you. Give yourself some room to look for evidence of why it's not hard. This is so important that once you start selecting some thoughts intentionally, whether it's the opposite of a thought that doesn't serve you, or it's kind of a bridge to a new thought. It's that questioning thought. This might not actually be true. The next step is practicing. Practice these new thoughts. Write them down. Put them in a place that you will see them every day. One of my regular practices is writing down thoughts I want to believe, and I call it leading edge thoughts and beliefs. I want to be at that leading edge. I don't want to be settled into old thought patterns and behavior patterns. I don't want that for you either. So pick 4 or 5 leading edge thoughts that you can repeat to yourself every day. Write them down every night before you go to bed. Whatever those things are for you, practice them. Even maybe meditate on them a little bit. It might sound a little far out to some of you, but what I really mean by that is let it settle in to the point that you are looking for evidence that it's true. When you start intentionally looking for evidence that it's true, then you'll create a habit in your brain to keep looking for evidence. Now, the awesome thing that's going to happen is with this new self-awareness, you're going to start to see possibilities. You're going to start to see opportunities. All of this is going to become more evident for you. And that feeling of being stuck is going to go away because you're intentionally and almost automatically looking for the evidence that you're not stuck, that what you want is actually possible for you. And out of that comes taking action more consistently. Taking action without having all the answers in advance, right? We talked about that last week, that you just need the one thing to work on. You don't need to have all of the answers in advance. There's actually going to be less stickiness, less feelings of being stuck, and more flow, more expansion, if you will, because one thing is leading to another, is leading to another, is leading to another. When you start finding evidence that this actually led to that, the more of that you're going to experience. The other thing that's going to happen is you are going to be able to be more bold. Boldness without attachment. This is something that is so helpful when you're in a job search, when you're seeking that next promotion. Taking action without having any emotional attachment to the outcome of that action just leads to more action. It snowballs because you're not worried about what's happening next. You're not worried about whether or not you get the offer. You're just applying for the job, right? All of these things lead to more and more evidence that what you want is true for you, that what you want is inevitable. Wouldn't that be great for your brain to be looking for the evidence that what you want is absolutely going to happen? It's inevitable. So good, my friends. So if you're feeling stuck, please go back, explore, poke holes at it. I was recently summoned for jury duty. I'm always a little bit curious about it, partly because I'm a bit of a crime drama junkie. What's so interesting about crime dramas and court cases and all of these things is the other side, the two sides of the equation. They're looking for evidence and they're trying to poke holes in the other person's evidence. I want you to poke holes in your own evidence. If it's not serving you, then question it, cross-examine it, put yourself on the stand, question those thoughts. Are they serving you? Is it the evidence that's leading to the conclusion that you actually want in your career? If not, you're in total control, because the one thing you can control is your thoughts. The good news is thoughts create results. That's because your thoughts create feelings, your feelings motivate actions, and actions create results. And your results will always match your thoughts. If you're thinking I'm stuck, guess what result you're having? You're stuck. If you're thinking I'm bold, if you're thinking I can step out of my comfort zone, guess what you'll be finding in your results? Boldness showing up. Find that evidence that what you are aiming for is actually true and happening in your life. All right, I'll talk to you next time. If you like listening to this podcast, and you are going to love my program, Job Search Field Guide. This is a unique opportunity. I offered a 5-step process to help you land a job quickly. So I hope you will join me in Job Search Field Guide. This is going to be revolutionary to your career journey and your job search, and you get lifetime access. So find it at ElissaShuck-careercoach.com, and I will see you there.